He's killing me. I know. I bought this hoodie a long time ago. I liked it. I still like it. But I just like I looked in the video to see what it looked like, and it looks like I'm from the future. I don't know what's going on with the ribs, but it's here now, so it's staying. So we survived 26, the blizzard of 26. I guess you remember everybody remembers in Philly the 1996 blizzard. That was probably one of the funnest years ever. It's like total silence. Nobody could get out of their house. No one could bother you. No one could get on your nerves. It was a good time then. Very good time. This week, my friend Eric hit me up. He hits me up occasionally from time to time with text messages reminding me of things that we talk about, stories, just stuff that we're both interested in. And he sent me a text of someone that reminded me of a story, of course, that I'm going to tell. And it definitely goes with what I want to talk about today, but it's just a funny story that I had growing up. So it was I think it was 1991, Creative and Performing Arts High School. And someone's calling. Spam. You bang on that real quick. So anyway, 1991, Creative and Performing Arts High School. It was 4 years of, I would say, some of the greatest years of my life. And I had one friend named Joe Logue. He was one of the people that I was always around the most, you know. And me and him were always trying to make people laugh. Because I think growing up in the household that I grew up in, it wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't great. So as a single, you know, as a only child at the time until my sister came along and ruined everything. But as an only child growing up, it was kind of like there was a lot of drama going on. My mom and dad would fight a lot over things, and it was very, very vicious. So, like, I was always the class clown in school and always trying to make people laugh. It's like I love seeing people laugh. It's like the greatest thing ever for you to laugh, and then it's the greatest thing to see other people laugh and enjoy themselves. So, me and Joe, we were always like getting into trouble for the dumbest things. And there, at the time, I'm pretty sure it was his name. Well, I knew his name is that we called him Dr. Green. So Dr. Green was, I guess, disciplinarian of the school at the time. I know that he was a math teacher. That's what I remember. Like I'm pretty sure people said that he was a math teacher, and he did work at our school for a while. So I know I wasn't going crazy when I looked it up, but they said he never worked at Creative and Performing Arts, but he definitely did. And hopefully people will back me up on that. So one day, me and Joe are cutting class, actually. We're in the hallway, and we're outside of one of the art rooms, because Creative and Performing Arts is an art high school. So it was like kind of, if whoever remembers Fame, where everybody's dancing around and there's visual arts and all that stuff. So like it was almost like a college, because we had 3 art majors. You had to pass 3 art classes or you would get kicked out. So you had to keep up those art classes plus the other classes, math, whatever. So that's the kind of school it was. So we were like standing outside of, at the time it was Miss Cunan's room, and we were cutting her class. And we were at the end of the hallway, and on either side of the hallway, just like probably any school, there's stairway hallways, like just like on each side of the building. So at the time, it wasn't the Creative and Performing Arts that's on Broad Street. It's the Creative and Performing Arts that was in Palumbo High School or Palumbo Middle School, or whatever it was at the time. And actually, where you've seen the video, if you've seen the video Boys to Men, that's where the camera's like raising up, and you see them in the video Motown Philly. That's the school. That's the school that we were in at the time. That was in the early 90s. So there's 2 hallways, 2 stairways, and then there's this center stairway that's like a little tiny stairway. I don't know if every building has it, but it was just like this little tiny stairway. So we're on, I think it was like maybe the 3rd floor, and me and him are on the one stairway, and we're messing around trying to act out what it would be like if we made like a fight scene to make people laugh. Then we start making ourselves laugh. And I'm fake punching him. He's fake punching me. There's no one in the hallway but us. So we're only laughing at ourselves. And I said, punch me. And he punches me. And I fall on the ground and I roll. I just keep rolling. And he's cracking up laughing. I keep rolling until I get to that middle stairway in the hallway. And I'm not even lying. It's just like a movie. It was like an 80s movie where Dr. Green, the disciplinarian, he just happened to walk out of that hallway at the time. And I rolled right into his feet. And I looked up at him, and he's like, both of these get to my office. And I was like, damn. So we go down to his office, and, he's telling us, like, you guys got to chill out. He's like, these are really good kids, but you're always doing something stupid, getting yourselves in trouble. And remember, his name is Dr. Green. So just remember that. That's the key point in this story. And I remember definitely saying this too, because this is what brought it back to my memory. So me and Joe are sitting there, and we're looking at him, and he's like telling us what we should do. He's like, he's going to call our mother and father, and he's like, he's going to start telling, we're going to have to be suspended, whatever. So after he gets off the phone trying to reach our mom and dad, they didn't answer. And he's like, you guys really should try to do something with this pent up extra energy that you have. Instead of doing this, like, take up a drama class, they said, right? Because we were visual artists, so we were doing art, regular art. And he was like telling us to take up a drama class, like acting and all that stuff. And he goes, my son's an actor. And right at that point, I said, your son's a loser. Now, I was joking because he knew me, so he wasn't like mad at me. But I said, yeah. I said, your son's a loser. And he like smirked in a little bit. He's like, Fred, please, like, calm down, right? It was just so funny that I said that. So now it's like, so after we got in trouble, me and him got sent home, and me and him are on the train going back home, and I'm talking to Joe, and this is kind of like, this definitely, it's not bad, but it's just like, it just goes to show sometimes you got to think about what you're going to say before you say it, because you really don't know. Like, even in that instance when I called his son a loser, but it was actually really funny. So me and him are sitting on the platform on the train, and I said to him, I said, I'm done. I said, my mom is going to kill me when I get home. And I was never afraid of my dad. That sucks, but I was not afraid of my dad. I was afraid of my mom. My mom would put it down. Like, she would not take anything. So I was definitely afraid to go home because I knew I was in trouble. So I'm talking to Joe. We're sitting there, and I said, man, your dad's going to kill you when you get home. And he goes, no, he's not. I said, all right. I said, dude, I'm telling you. I said, this is like the 5th time we got in trouble. I said, your dad's going to kill you. He's not, really. Trust me, he's not. That's what he said to me. He's not going to kill me. So I go, we go home. I see him, whatever. I come back to school, but not really talk about it. And then a couple weeks later, I'm talking to someone, and we talk about Joe's dad, and they said Joe's dad passed away. And I said, this guy. I said, he didn't even tell me while we were on the platform. I go back and tell him. I said, well, why didn't you tell me that your dad passed away? Why did you keep letting me go with that? He said, I thought it was funny. So it's like, it's just the things we say we don't think about. You should really think about it, right? So now, fast forward. This is 91, 92 now. So now fast forward to 2000, maybe. I would say 2000s. Start talking to my friend John Ortega from Kappa, because he went to Kappa too. And I don't know, we were talking, reminiscing and everything. And for some reason, the thing came up. He said, do you remember Dr. Green? I said, yeah, I remember Dr. Green. He goes, do you know his son is Seth Green? And I said, what? I said, Seth Green, Family Guy, Austin Powers, Italian Job, the famous guy from he was an actor from Philly or whatever, Pennsylvania. Yeah. I said, John, do you understand that I called I called Dr. Green's son a loser. I called Seth Green's son. I called Seth Green a loser. I thought that was like the funniest thing ever. That it's like, but you just don't know until things unfold as you go along. It's pretty crazy how like the world works. It's just you're doing something and you're just living in the moment, and then later on you're calling Seth Green a loser. But I always want to tell him that. And that's what Eric texted me this week. He was like texting me about that stuff and like just showing me, because we always have fun times and talk about things that we've done in the past and bring it up again and again. But I just thought that was a funny story to lead into, what I was going to say about like just thinking about things before you say it. And, of course, that situation that I had when I was younger, it's harmless. I mean, you don't know really what you're doing. You're a young kid. You're learning life. But I'm talking about the people that are like older and have been through stuff, and they're just, it's kind of goes hand in hand with the last episode that I talked about, like listening, like when you listen with anger and you see with anger, like you see things and it makes you angry. What it does, it just stays with you. And then all of a sudden now you're saying things that you either regret, you have to say you're sorry. Some people don't even say they're sorry. That's another thing. Like communication is so like necessary. Like you really have to learn how to communicate. And I feel like these videos could help people see something in themselves. Like I had a problem with that. I used to say, I wasn't too bad, but when I got angry, I would say some pretty nasty things, and I had to apologize for them. And that's where I said, like, when you start learning about yourself and you start taking on the responsibility of saying, I'm wrong. And it's okay. You can be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. There's a lot of people out there being nasty on purpose, though, especially with this new thing. I guess they're calling it rage. Was it rage baiting? And people will say, well, you do that to the people you love. You don't do that to the people you love. You don't purposely make someone angry by saying something, or saying something to someone just to see how angry they get. That's a horrible thing to do. Like, you don't know what another person is going through. You have no clue what they're dealing with. People could be taking care of another person at home. There's so many situations where a lot of my anger came out of, like when I was taking care of my dad, people not doing the right thing, of course, by us or by anybody. You start to get this anger, and then you start to say things without thinking. And I just want to say, like, just be careful what you say to people, because it makes a big difference, especially what's it called, like passive aggressive. Like, I like this hoodie, but I wouldn't wear it. I would actually give it to that. It's true. But the passive aggressiveness, just like people that do things on purpose and then go and say, well, that's just the way I am, and I just speak my mind. Sometimes you shouldn't speak your mind, because it's like a small evil that just doesn't help you. It just makes you more separated from people, because then people don't want to be around you, because you become this person that just has something negative to say, or something that puts someone down. Just even like your speech. Like I do have a problem with cursing. I don't like it at all. I learned it from my mother growing up, because she was like a truck driver. I mean, she was rough. I mean, she was taking up sign language to help, like to be an interpreter for the deaf. And she would curse in sign language. That's how bad it was. But yeah, like just that around your kids. Like what we do as adults, what we think we're adults, just because you're older in age doesn't mean you're an adult. I think the definitions are really messed up with people, because just because you're older doesn't mean you're an adult. I'm a grown-ass man. I hate that term. I despise that term. I'm a grown-ass man, but you can't keep a job. You can't keep a girlfriend, and you don't know how to pay your bills. You talk like a trash bag. So it's like, what, really? It's not. You're not that guy. Just so it's maturity. Maturity is where it is, not adult. Like, so when you're talking out your mouth, it's like you should be considerate of the people around you. not everybody can take what you're saying. So this is why we're having such a hard time now in this world, because so many people are just angry out in the streets and yelling at each other. It's like no one has the same information, but yet we're mad at each other for no reason. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say a religious person goes to a college outside, and some are cool, some are cool. Like, I'm not like knocking everybody, and so just don't be mad at me if I say this. But let's say a religious person goes and he has good intentions and he goes out to a college and he's talking outside in the parking lot, wherever, right? And there's like a group of kids there, and they're just also angry at life and angry at what they see in the world. And they might have been through stuff. They might have lost their parents early. They might have lost friends early. Like, they might have experienced some extreme hurt. They might be alcoholics. They might be doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. Like, they're not proud of anything. And then all of a sudden, this religious guy comes and he's like, you're all sinners. You're all going to hell. They're going to take offense to that because they don't have the same information that you have. So I would be careful with your words. This is why I am the way I am. Do I believe in God? Yes. Do I believe in the Bible? Yes. Do I believe there's a certain way in this world? Yes, definitely, guaranteed. But I will not push it on people to make them angry. If we never, ever see eye to eye, that's fine. We'll all figure this out in the end. But I'm not going to go out without really explaining why I'm here. I'm not just going to throw things out there and expect people to understand, because they're just going to get more angry. So when you go out with an attitude and say, I'm right, they're going to say, I'm right. They're not going to say, like, they're not going to agree with you. If we just understood how to communicate and talk to people, I should make another video about that too, because communication is key, because it's just like people don't know how to communicate. All they're doing is yelling at each other. Can you really say that you see the people in the videos these days that are just, they'll go out and protest? Are they really getting anything accomplished by just yelling in the streets? You probably get more accomplished if you went out and hugged people. And it sounds corny, but because, loving people is not, it's not like the thing. Everybody wants to fight. Everybody wants to be enraged. Everybody wants to hurt each other. And it's like everybody wants to see people die. That is an evil that we practice. And I'm telling you right now, whoever's listening to me, just come away from that. Like, don't do that no more. Like, yeah, you're not going to save the world. No one's going to save the world but God. I'm going to tell you that right now. And it says that in the Bible. But, I don't want to make this sound like a religious thing, because it's not, but it's just life. Religion and life is totally different. Religious people are someone that just goes to a church and does a whole bunch of things, and hopefully they get into the gates of heaven. They're doing things. They're just doing things. It's like a job. Religion's a job. But we're all living life, and we're doing bad at it. Like, we're doing really bad at it. I don't have any real problems with anyone. And that's the way it should be. But there's so many people that are so hurt and so angry that they don't know how to pull out of it. But you should really try to be conscious of what you're saying to people. At the workplace, anywhere. I mean, especially in front of your kids, because what we think, like I said, what we think as adult, we're teaching our kids. Like, I know sometimes, like, a kid will say something like a curse word or whatever, and it's kind of cute. But the more we encourage the bad behavior, you're not really putting that child on the right course. Sometimes they'll come out great. I'm not saying that. But some people do some really bad stuff, like the way they talk to their wife, or the way a wife would talk to a husband, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. You can't talk down to your better half. And if you are going to talk down, you have to do it not in front of the kid, Like, you have to learn how to control that, your anger or whatever, because kids at an early age, they learn the same behavior. That's why you see kids growing up and guys doing the same thing to women, women doing the same thing to guys. They're not really fully coming to an understanding that they got to slow down and go, let me look at myself and let me start over with the fundamentals, how to be good to people, how to be right. That's why schools are not normal, because they should have a class on how to treat humanity. Like, and they don't. This is why kids, there's so much more fighting, I think, in schools now than when I was younger. I had one fight in school, well, maybe two. But but now it's just like they go to the bathroom just to fight. There's a problem. Like, there's a real problem, and it's definitely the phones, definitely the all the things that people are putting out. And it's like, if we really understood, the phone companies don't have our best interest. So why would you go to that and keep doing that? It's just we're going in a vicious circle. But I'm just saying, like, when you're talking, you should be definitely more alert. Like, okay, if what I say, is it going to hurt this person? I'm at the point now where I'm always like that, unless I get into a really bad fight with someone. Sometimes it does happen, but for the most part, I'm very careful how I treat every individual person. And that's what the problem is too. Like, with people that, like, politicians and speakers, they go out there and they talk to like 100, 200 people at a time, and then kind of say whatever they want to say. That's bad, because every individual person has an individual outlook, perception, thinking process, whatever it is, and worldview, and you're destroying them by just making one announcement to 200 people. They're going to be mad. That's why, like, when I talk, I try to talk to people one-on-one for a while, not to deceive them, but to let them know and understand, like, what truth is, like, what love is, like, all the stuff that we're doing. You can't come back and even tell me that the world's going in the right direction. You can't. There's no way. If everybody acted out of love and was, like, understanding, sympathetic, the world would be a great place. It really would, because all this anger causes other things. The riots, all these things that you see that are destroying the world, the way people speak to each other is, like, one of the biggest things, because it just destroys everything. But I would just say, try to think about what I'm saying. And the next time you speak, just go, is this going to hurt someone's feelings? Like, am I saying the right things? Not different with friends and stuff. Like, if you have friends, I have 3 knucklehead friends that we beat each other up all day, but that's different though. We're in a safe circle where we can joke and no one's going to get offended. But sometimes people are so nasty and they won't change. Like, you really should change. There's definitely a need to change if you're definitely doing or hurting people, especially in a relationship. Be careful what you say. Don't always point out people's flaws. We don't need it. It's not necessary. I notice people point out flaws way quicker than they ever say, like, "Oh man, your hair looks great," or "It's a great shirt," whatever you're wearing. Just like, they don't. It's almost like we practice it to be bad so much that we're so good at it. Like I said, it's just we practice being bad, so we're better at that. And it's like weird and off if we're good to each other. I'd much rather be good. It's a much better feeling. But yeah, you should really think about how you talk to people. It'll definitely change your life. It'll definitely change the way your kids grow up. And you'll see a more positive change around you with people. Even when people don't really, like I always say, like, they don't come along, or they're like nervous. It's like a dog that's been abused. People are the same way. People are the same way, like a dog that's been abused. It takes time for them to come out of their shell. But they'll eventually come around, and secretly they probably like you. So just keep trying. Don't get mad. Don't get aggravated with people. and then say things you don't mean. Always do the right thing. That's about it. I was going to read this one thing from the Bible, of course. I did want to say that I wanted to dedicate this video to my friend Joe Logue because it feels recently. It's not recently. It was a couple years ago. I was driving to my really good friend Vinny's funeral, and on the way there, which I'll talk about Vinny in another video because he was a fun guy. We always went to his house, had Sunday dinner, Italian meatballs and wine, and we laughed, played board games with the family. And when I was on my way to his funeral, I got a text from my friend Chuck, and he said, Joe Logue passed. And I was like devastated because it was like 2 people back to back that quick. And it was me, Tommy, Chuck, and Joe Logue were supposed to go out actually a couple weeks later. And Joe passed away just like that. And it's like, I just want to tell people that there is hope. I'm trying not to get emotional because that's why I told that funny story in the beginning. Because the last 2 videos, I get like all emotional. So, but anyway, that's what happens when you have a lot of stuff go on in your life. You're kind of, I don't know. You're like that, I guess. But I just wanted to say, like, you know, to the people that lose people, and it's like there is hope. This life is short for a reason because God wants to see if we can be trusted. And death is something to show us how valuable life is, how valuable a person is to someone, and that God's like, what we're doing with each other, like screaming each other's face about who's better, who's this, it's not normal, and there's no value in it. As soon as you lose a person that's close to you, you definitely sober up and you start to change your mind the way things are going on this planet. But I do want to give to the people that have lost people, especially myself, there is hope. We're going to see those people again. You're going to see those people again. And God has a much bigger plan than what you think. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree and say, Fred, God doesn't exist. I mean, but God does exist. There is a God. And it's not a religious God. It's God. It's life. It's just life. And there is a creator. And God is watching over us and saying, just want to see them get along. It's similar to a mom. You know, a mom wants to have all her kids at the table at dinner time on a weekend and see everybody getting along. She don't want to see the brothers fighting. She don't want to see the sisters fighting. She don't want to see that. She wants to see everybody loving each other. Because a mother, that's what a mother does. She's caring. She's loving, and she wants to see her children get along. And damn it. And that's how God is. God wants to see humanity get along. And because he cannot intercede at this time, because we all have free will for a certain amount of time, it makes a lot of sense that he can't butt in. You can't butt in on your child's life. You can talk to them, but you can't force them to make the right decision. If you understand that, like God's given us that ability. There's a direct correlation with us and God. God makes humanity. We make children. God gives humanity free will. We have to give our children free will and hope that we can guide them away from the world and the evils of the world and TikTok and social media, what they're showing us to do. So it's like God wants us to sit around the table and get along. All our differences, colors, whatever. That's what God wants. So, to the people that lost people, I just want to say there is hope, and one day you will see them again. And this is for Joe Logue. Said I wasn't going to do anything like cry. Gosh, I'm the worst. I think vocalizing it makes it worse, because when you think of it, you don't get as emotional. But when you actually speak it out, vocalizing, that's why speech has a very hard impact on people's lives. So please be careful what you say. But anyway, this video was dedicated to Joe. Great friend, great husband, great father, co-worker, and whatever else. He was a really great guy, and I miss him. I miss our conversations. And we will see him again. But anyway, I'll leave you with this. Proverbs 12:18. Thoughtless speech is like the stabs of a knife, but the tongue of the wise is healing. Be that person. Be the wise person. You know what I mean? Be careful what you say. Until next time.